So Bitcoin's up, miners are moving, and we're not chasing. We're positioning, and BitFarms just flashed one of the cleanest setups today during our live session, and we nailed it. Let's jump into it. We're going to be jumping into BITF today. And just a friendly reminder, we just wrapped up our daily live trading session. We were in Redwire. If you want to tune on in, get my real-time insights, see our entries and exits on shorter-term plays. You can access it with the code BF175 with the Black Friday code to go unlock StockMate down below. We'd love to see you there at Market Open. So let's jump into it. We're going to get into the not data center play, but more Bitcoin play, but actually kind of on the data center side, which is BITF. Now, BITF is up about 9% today, 9.6%. It looks like it's bulling up. We saw it find support around 230 up to about $3 a share. But it's still seeing some downward pressure, and it's still down a little bit since we entered longer term positions on the Schwab portfolio. And I like this company because they're building a lot of data centers. And what happens when you see data centers companies, these data center companies, move from the AI or from the Bitcoin market to the data center market for AI, they still have some income streams, and they still are slightly going to be correlated with Bitcoin, because if Bitcoin goes up, then it becomes more, let's say, reasonable to leave all of the servers on or leave the data centers running, because ultimately that means that the price of Bitcoin is going up. So you could spend more to mine Bitcoins. Now, what happens is sometimes these Bitcoin mining companies get fiended out when the Bitcoin price drops, and they just say, we're just going to turn off our servers, we're going to turn off our data centers, because it's more expensive for us to run our electricity or run the energy and actually mine Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's not worth as much. And so right now, Bitcoin's at a premium, or maybe not a premium, but they were dropping. Some people are shutting off, but then you had them start to recover big time from 80,000 back up to now $92,000 today. And they are seeing some green momentum over the last week for BITF as well. So some correlation definitely happening there. They're up now 11.5%. But then on top of that, you're going to see that there's some things you want to know around the market of Bitcoin. You might be looking at companies like, when Bitcoin's up, you might be looking at companies like MicroStrategy. You might be looking at companies like Bitminer. I'm not as well versed on Bitminer, but if you look at a company like MicroStrategy, they've figured out something that is highly intelligent for the accumulation of assets, for them to be able to convert public markets into liquidity for acquiring more assets. But it's not necessarily the best move for you if you're an investor. It's going to help you if you're trying to grow alongside, let's say, something like Bitcoin. Because ultimately, buying a company like BITF, that's going to be more tied to, okay, they have some things we'll jump into, like their cloud, or they have their different data centers that they're renting out to companies. Like, for example, if they rent out to a company like Microsoft, if they rent out to a company like Google, because those companies need more compute, they have the energy, they have the portfolio of data centers. And so they're bringing some value to the tech world. But if you look at a company, let's say like MicroStrategy, and you want to buy them, and you're trying to capitalize on the Bitcoin boom, just be careful, because basically what happens is, you buy their stock, they sell, you are the liquidity, they sell, they take that money that you bought their stock with, so it will go down initially, and they invest it into Bitcoin. Now, that's why, they might have a big asset sheet, but how much positive value are they contributing? It's going to be minimal right now until really they get their credit up for Bitcoin, and they're like loaning out credit, and then they become, bigger in that regard. But that's kind of the play. I mean, they can be a good long-term play, but I would just say, like, have some very clear reasons for getting into a company like MicroStrategy. So there's three things we look at when looking at BITF. The first is going to be the market. They're basically intersected between this growing market of cryptocurrency with Bitcoin, but primarily moving into what is from BitFarms over to AI infrastructure, which is also the fastest growing market in the world right now. So if you look at the fast growing market of AI, BitFarms has multiple sites where they have these data centers. So if we take a look at BITF, if you look at the just in general, that market is seeing a lot of capital. Every single company you hear on the earnings from, let's say, Microsoft or Apple or Tesla, they're all saying we're buying more into AI compute. Bitcoin miner morphing into a high demand AI compute provider. That's BITF, you see. So that's what we're just talking about. And so the revenue, how is the revenue? The revenue is around 60 or 70 million a quarter with negative net income, so they are spending. The balance sheet is up to 800 million. Okay. And so if they're up to $800 million in total assets, they got plenty of runway. They got the revenue to operate their company. And so at this time, if that's where they are, they not only see their real world usage, but they're also seeing pretty large amounts of capital in their asset sheet. So it looks good. So when you're looking at the potential for a company like this to grow into, let's say an APLD, or you're looking at this company to grow into, let's say like Wolf stock, or a bigger company. So I don't even know if Wolf is lower, but let's say a top data center company. You're not going to see this company probably grow to a company like AMD. Definitely not. But with their current market cap at 2.5 billion Canadian there, for them to continue to capitalize on this part of the market would be kind of expected given all of their different sites for data centers. Now, it's also possible they set these up in the past. Maybe the compute's not as good, but that's not an issue. Right now, the biggest problem in the tech world is that you have extremely good cheap GPUs that have been developed by companies like AMD and NVIDIA sitting in boxes ready to go into these data centers, but they're not yet put into these data centers, basically. And so they optimize, the building, and they're always, it seems like, expanding their data centers. And then they're also committed to what you can see here is sustainable infrastructure. So they're building in places that have plenty of maybe hydroelectric or things like that, which I really like. So that combined with, get into the second thing, which is, the news, the charts, and the financials. Financials looked okay. They're still a little bit high on market cap, 2.5 billion. Maybe a more reasonable level would be around that 2, but I don't know about Canadian. Actually, I think that is right around 2 USD. So that's an interesting one. Let's find out. 2.57 Canadian to USD. Oh yeah, they're actually about 1.8 billion USD. Okay, that's actually great. That's actually much better than I thought. Okay, so they're looking pretty good on the valuation side. 1.8 billion when they got 800 million in assets, and seem to be increasing their revenue by over 30% year over year, and net income improving. So I would say, yeah, financials look really good. You get into the news of the company. Do they have some recent press releases? Let's take a look. They're publishing some public articles. I don't like that. I would like to see the press releases for investors. Let's see. If they take other articles people publish and put it on their website, sometimes that's a little bit risky. You want to go straight to the source in most cases. All right. News, press releases. They had revenue of 69 million, 14 million from discontinued operations. So they did have some discontinued operations. I think that was due to the change of the GPUs. Modular infrastructure to enable faster construction. And did they have any recent deals? They had some convertible senior notes, raising money. That's normal. $300 million project financing to draw an additional $50 million to accelerate AI factories development at Panther Creek. So they're now investing in more infrastructure there. So that's good to see. And then they got some more, announcements, but overall, not any huge. They are having a program to buy back their own shares, which is, again, kind of the opposite of MicroStrategy, which is good. So if we're going to look at the charts here, kind of get a look at where they're going, kind of breaking from that $2.20 potential support down here up to about 350 and looking to break out here. So if they're going to continue their overall uptrend, we're looking at this continued uptrend here of, well, breaking out above 350, probably into that $4 to $4.50. It still looks like this. See, 67 cents. Then they surged up to $6.60. Now they've dropped down to 220, and now they've jumped back up into this $3.50 range. So it's been volatile. It's been very volatile. But if they're going to get up in that $2 billion to or more dollar range, you're probably going to see them up here breaking out above 350 into this 375. If they could start to stabilize there, then you're going to be looking at probably what would be a considerable kind of continuation here. Kind of a continuation of the trend. Maybe if you accounted for this recent sell down when Bitcoin crashed, which that's gonna impact the market for sure. They sold down big time when Bitcoin crashed. And you were to look at something like this, you might say, oh, they're going to maybe continue this direction up into this $5 to $10 range, and they're oversold right now with the next target bullish up into this $4 to $5 range. Now that's very bullish. Even right now, they just surged quite a bit, and they have a resistance around 350 to watch. You can see, we zoom in a little bit. Let's see if we get a better note. This is not our best chart outlook here. Let's see here. So that was a previous resistance level, and frankly, pretty close to their support there over the last year. And you can see that they recently kind of broke below that, and now they're approaching it again. So again, resistance here at 350. We're looking, if they break out above 350, you want to see 350 as the next support level if you're bullish. Otherwise, they might face some resistance around this 350 that they're at right now. So we'll be watching them throughout the day today. And that brings us to kind of the margin for profit. Long term, I think that they're oversold. Short term, you could see this big surge recently over the last day with Bitcoin. Maybe Bitcoin goes straight back to 100,000, right? Or maybe it takes a little bit. Maybe we see them sell back down a little bit on their way to 100,000. But either way, long term, I think looks pretty good for a company that's involved in this market. And the short term, you see a little bit of an overextension. Would probably look for that nearest previous resistance. Whenever you see a very consistent uptrend here, whenever you see a very consistent uptrend, you're going to want to look for the previous resistance levels, because that means you got previous resistance will act as a support. So as you can see, previous resistance, that's where it broke out last time around 290. You can see this kind of hyper bull trend that it's in right now where it's rocketing up. And the previous resistance here are right here around 330. Okay, that's the nearest shorter term kind of trade support is 335. So between 335 and kind of an anticipation, if you're going to expect they continue up, even though they're up already 12% today, then you'd be looking at a recovery back up into, that breakout territory here, 350 to $4. Having some trouble with the chart zoom out. Let's see if it can work here. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, kind of hanging between. Wow, my chart's acting so strange today. Might have to reset some things. As you can see here, you got between 335 and about 360 is the level where it's at right now. So previous resistance at 340, nearest support level, trying to continue to break up above that 350 to 360 range, in which case you'd want to see 350 or 360 act as a support. But right now, looking a little bit overbought. Vanda says, so today you entered in Redwire and BitFarm. At what price are you selling? BitFarm is a company I've been holding long term. I actually am not up on the position as we just bought in towards beginning of November, right around here, and it has recovered obviously, but that's just a long-term hold for now. I don't have any short-term positions on BITF. On Redwire, we have long-term positions. So guys, those are the levels we're watching. And on Redwire, we have long-term positions in Redwire, but we also just entered a short-term position this morning in our daily live trading session in StockMate. So we just wrapped up our daily live trading session. It hasn't moved, and we entered a small trade position. Nothing crazy, just to test the waters here. Between $1,000 to $2,000, just to kind of see, how it's moving, if it's finding support, as it's been selling off so much, and because I already have long-term positions, so there's no reason for me to really push it here. As you guys can see, we got this this support level turning into resistance, or the support level here potentially acting as a support and breaking above this resistance. Why is that? Well, you see that moving average, they're holding below the moving average since October, selling off, selling off, selling off. And just recently, in the last few hours, or really last day, you can see they are looking to break above this moving average and actually break out. So that's why we just bought them right now. We got a support there potentially around 540. And we're looking for what could be a 10% plus surge on Redwire today. I know, pretty bullish, right? So something like this up to $6 or even $6.50 to me would make a lot of sense if they hold the support. Financials, we didn't really go into it. We can go into it in a full video, but we went into it this morning. But what you need to know is that they have more cash than their current market cap, and they just had a really good quarter last quarter with over $100 million in revenue, which for a space tech company and a market cap that's under 2 billion, man, that's pretty good. So they are seeing under $1 billion market cap, actually. So 100 million a quarter, under $1 billion market cap, over $1 billion in assets. This company's looking pretty solid. So I like it. I think it's been beat down. We're going to see this potential recovery here, and we'll continue to be in it. If you ever want to see our entries, see our exits like we did this morning inside of StockMate, it's our daily live trading session. You also get early access to videos just like this one before they come out, right at market open. It's the second link in the description below. And we do have a little special offer for you if you have not had a chance to ever tune in the daily live sessions. You could get a taste, in a sample session. We do those once every quarter or so. But if you're ready to tune in as soon as Monday and you're okay getting up early on the Pacific Coast, 6:30 a.m. or 9:30 a.m. on the Eastern Coast, then I would encourage you to simply take a look. It's the second link below, and we do have an offer there special for Black Friday. If you want to see our entries, see our exits, and get the opportunity to surround yourself with like-minded individuals, we have 29 millionaires in StockMate, and we also have some good insights. Lawrence came in with a new article here. Black Sky, I love to see that. Johnny's been coming out with Data Vault. And we will have some targets for next week coming out here for all the stocks reporting earnings. So if you want those types of things, you can send people a message, send me a message there for you, along with some learning materials. But ultimately, it's the live sessions and it's the free t-shirt that you get when you join. So go there, Black Friday, second link below. So guys, appreciate you all. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and one more answer for Vanda. Vanda says, what price are you selling? Yeah, so in our live session this morning, we went over the plan. It was a 10% potential, $6.04 sell for profit, and a stop loss at $5.38 for Redwire. Pretty small position. That's what we're watching. 538 stop, 602 bullish target. Hopefully that answers your question, Vanda. Appreciate you for tuning in. And again, if I earned a thumbs up, guys, hit the like button. Do consider subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.